Always.
Today, well, let's talk about Jennette McCurdy.
Okay.
You know, everyone remembers her as Sam, right? From iCarly.
Yeah, definitely iconic.
But we're going a little deeper this time.
Sound good.
Using her memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died.
Oh, wow, that title.
I know, right? Kind of throws you off a bit.
Just a little bit.
It makes you wonder about their relationship.
Right. What happened there?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So to start, let's go back to her childhood.
Okay.
Garden Grove, California.
Okay.
She called it, Garbage Grove, actually.
Garbage Grove. Wow.
Doesn't sound too glamorous.
Not really.
3 brothers, money troubles, and then her mom's cancer.
A lot to deal with, especially as a kid.
And it seemed like that fear, of her mom's cancer coming back.
Yeah, it kind of hung over everything.
It really did.
It's like they were always waiting for, something bad to happen.
Yeah, it's there in the book, like even this broken garage door.
Oh.
It was so heavy, it took 2 people to open. I mean, that's just one example, but...
I get it. It's like a symbol of your struggle.
Exactly. There's even this story about spilled milk.
Spilled milk.
On the way to church, of all things.
Oh, no.
Ruined tights, rushing to Rite Aid.
Oh, man, I can imagine the stress.
It was chaotic, for sure.
Definitely not your average family outing.
No, not at all. And then there's the whole religion aspect.
Right, they weren't
She calls them second-rate Mormons.
second-rate Mormons.
It's like they were on the outside, never quite fitting in.
Ah, that makes sense.
So acting comes into the picture when she's just 6.
6. Wow, that's young.
Her mom saw it as their way out,
Out of Garbage Grove.
Exactly, like their ticket to something better.
The American dream, but with a Hollywood twist.
Right, and then Jennette gets a small part on The X-Files.
The X-Files, that's a big deal.
Even though it was just a tiny role, I mean, her mom was driving like an hour and a half each way for it.
Wow, she was dedicated.
It makes you think, right? Was it for Jennette or for her?
That's a good question.
Well, the book kind of suggests it was more about control, maybe?
Control, how so?
Like homeschooling, constant practice, no real childhood, really.
She missed out on a lot.
Yeah, like normal kid stuff, Playtime, friends.
She had to grow up way too fast.
There's even this part where she pretends to love a gift.
Oh, what was it?
An Angelica Pickles costume.
From Rugrats.
Yep.
Interesting.
But she acted like she loved it just to please her mom.
Ah, so it's about that dynamic.
Yeah, you can see how much power her mom had.
Definitely not a typical parent-child relationship.
No, not at all. And it gets, well, kind of disturbing in places.
What do you mean?
She talks about these breast and front butt exams her mom did.
Whoa, that's not right.
And then the constant criticism about her weight.
It's like her mom was projecting, her own insecurities.
Trying to mold her into this perfect star image.
That's really sad.
Yeah, it is.
Especially for someone so young.
It's like her mom was living vicariously through her, almost.
Makes you think about the pressure on child actors, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a tough industry.
There's even this story about her being too pretty for a role.
Too pretty? What does that even mean?
It's crazy, right? Like they reduce these kids to their looks.
Instead of their talent.
Exactly. And ironically, Jennette wasn't even comfortable with fame.
Really?
She preferred being called handsome.
Handsome.
Yeah, like handsome, but for a girl,
Interesting. So she was rejecting those labels.
Totally. And with all that pressure, it's no wonder she turned to, well, unhealthy ways of coping.
Like what?
The eating disorders, forcing herself to cry for auditions.
It's like she was trying to control something.
In a life where she felt totally out of control, yeah.
Makes sense.
And then, of course, there's the whole iCarly thing.
Right, she becomes a huge star.
But even with that success, she's still struggling.
It's not always what it seems, is it?
Not at all. She talks about comparing herself to Ariana Grande, her co-star.
Ah, yeah, that's gotta be tough.
Always measuring up, feeling inadequate.
Especially in that environment.
Right. And meanwhile, her mom's health is getting worse.
Oh, man.
It's like this constant fear in the background.
Adding to the pressure.
Yeah, and it's all about to come to a head.
This is heavy stuff.
It is, and we're just getting started.
Can't wait to dive deeper.
It's a lot, to process.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's this thing with her apartment.
Oh, right.
She finally gets her own place.
Like a symbol of freedom.
Exactly. This chance to, be independent.
Away from her mom.
But then her mom's cancer comes back.
Oh, no.
And Jennette lets her move in.
So much for that independence.
I know. It's like she takes one step forward.
And then 2 steps back.
Yeah, right back into that caretaker role.
It's like that pull.
Yeah.
That dynamic was so strong.
It really was. And it kind of repeats itself with her relationships, too.
Relationships?
Yeah, like with this guy, Joe.
Who's Joe?
He was older, a coworker. They started dating.
That sounds a little
Yeah, it was kind of messed up looking back.
Power imbalance, maybe.
Totally. Like she was seeking validation, but from the wrong place.
Right, because of how she grew up.
Exactly.
Makes you think about the long-term effects, you know.
Kind of childhood.
Yeah, it can really mess you up.
And then her mom finds out about Joe. After this incident in Hawaii, they got caught by paparazzi.
Oof, that's rough.
And the email her mom sends, brutal, calling her a slut, a floozy.
Wow, that's harsh.
Even though Jennette's an adult, living on her own.
It didn't matter to her mom.
No, it was like she still had this hold on her, you know?
That judgment, it followed her everywhere.
And then, well, her mom dies.
The moment the book is named after.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a complicated mix of emotions, right?
Relief, grief, guilt, everything.
Yeah, all of it at once.
It's not like this clean break, you know?
No, of course not.
She's free, but her mom's voice is still there.
In her head.
Exactly.
And those coping mechanisms, are they still there?
Oh, yeah. She throws herself into work, directing her spin-off show, Sam and Cat.
Trying to prove herself, maybe?
I think so, but it doesn't go well.
What happened?
Jealous co-star, sabotage, the whole thing.
Ugh, the industry can be so brutal.
It really can. She tries dating too, but it's all kind of messy.
Messy how?
Short-lived, fueled by alcohol, that sort of thing.
Like she's trying to fill a void.
Yeah, but in all the wrong ways.
And then there's that bombshell about her father.
Oh man, I forgot about that part.
It's a lot to handle, on top of everything else.
It really is. So she decides to try therapy again.
Second time's the charm.
Well, this therapist seems different.
How so?
More holistic, you know, focusing on the root of her bulimia.
Not just the symptoms.
Right, connecting it to her need for control, the trauma.
It's all connected.
But she still resists, you know?
Resistance.
Like she's not ready to face it all yet.
It's tough confronting those deep-seated issues.
And letting go of that image she had of her mom.
It's like betraying her, almost.
So she quits therapy again.
Taking a step back.
And throws herself into, well, everything else.
Work, relationships.
Yep. She even tries religion for a bit.
Religion. Interesting.
Yeah, remember how she talked about...
Never fit in.
So it's this weird contrast, you know?
Like she's searching for something to believe in?
Maybe, but it doesn't seem to stick. It's like she's trying all these things, looking for answers.
Yeah, kind of all over the place.
But then there are these, like, glimmers of hope. Hope? Like when she goes to the Kids' Choice Awards with her therapist.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and she's like having these urges to binge and purge.
Oh man, that's a tough situation.
But then her therapist gets starstruck by Adam Sandler.
No way!
I know, right? It's so random and funny.
It's like a reminder that life can be absurd.
Exactly. And even in those dark moments.
There's still room for, you know, lightness.
Totally. And you see her trying to connect with her siblings too.
Her brothers.
Yeah, it's complicated, obviously.
Because of their mom.
Right, but she's trying, at least.
That's what matters, right?
There's this scene where she's talking to one of her brothers on the phone, and you can just hear the pain in his voice.
Oh, wow.
But she's so patient with him, so supportive.
That's growth right there.
Yeah, it's like she's learning to be there for others.
Even when she's struggling herself.
And then there's the whole iCarly reboot thing.
Oh yeah, that was big news.
They offered her a ton of money.
But she walked away.
She knew it would be like a step backward for her mental health.
Putting her back in that old environment.
And she chose herself, you know?
That's huge.
It really is. But even with that progress, there's still those societal pressures.
Especially for women.
Oh yeah, she's really honest about that in the book.
Like what?
The pressure to be thin, to be desirable, all that.
It's a constant battle.
Especially when you're also fighting your own demons.
About body image, eating disorders.
Exactly.
It's like a double whammy.
And then there's her sexuality, which is a whole other layer.
Right, she talks about feeling confused, uncomfortable.
It's like she's trying to figure it out, but through this lens of...
Validation, performance.
Yeah, like she needs approval from others.
To define who she is.
It's only later, after she's done more work on herself,
that she starts to embrace it on her own terms.
And that's a powerful message, don't you think?
Absolutely, especially for young women.
Like, it's okay to explore, to make mistakes.
To define your own sexuality without shame.
And she gets there because of her therapist.
Seems like they had a good connection.
Oh, yeah. This therapist was key.
In what way?
Like helping her normalize her eating habits.
Still important.
Encouraging her to connect with her body in a healthy way.
Mind and body, right?
Exactly. And then there's this moment where she sells her house.
Her house.
Yeah, the one her mom lived in with her.
Oh, wow. That's symbolic.
It was like she was letting go of the past, you know?
Shedding that old skin.
And in that new space, she starts writing again.
Finding her voice.
Yeah, that creative spark comes back.
It was always there, just hidden.
And she starts to define success on her own terms, finally.
It's a long journey, but she gets there.
It really is. Her story is, you know, it's powerful.
It is. It makes you think.
About the narratives we tell ourselves.
Stories we believe.
And whether they're actually serving us or holding us back.
It's a good question to ask yourself.
It is. And I think it's also about recognizing...
Recognizing what?
That healing is a journey, not a destination.
It's ongoing.
Yeah, it's messy, it's imperfect.
But it's worth it.
It is. And even in the darkness, there's always that possibility.
Of finding the light.
Exactly. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been...
heavy, but insightful.
It really has. And for our listeners, keep those questions in mind.
About your own narratives, your own journeys.
And keep searching for that light, you know? It's always there.